Huge news coming out of Iran today. The US and Israel struck targets in and around Tehran, reportedly including sites linked to Iran's top leadership. This comes after weeks of the Iranian government killing thousands of their own citizens who were protesting in the streets. And it is now confirmed that Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei is dead after the Israeli strikes. But with this announcement, we're already getting a bunch of bad takes and outright lies from internet talking heads and even members of our own Congress. Today, we're going to go through them quickly and try to dispel some of the things that you're going to be hearing on the news. The first thing to tackle is the claim from both Republicans and Democrats that these strikes are illegal or unconstitutional. You've got Hakeem Jeffries saying that the administration must seek authorization for preemptive force, Khanna calling it an illegal regime change war, and Thomas Massie and Rand Paul talking about acts of war unauthorized by Congress. That's at best misleading. The War Powers Resolution of 1973 is what actually governs this stuff. Section 1542 says that the president should consult with Congress in every possible instance before introducing U.S. forces into hostilities. But no, that does not mean that you brief Congress on the exact time, target list, and flight path. That would be insane from an operational security standpoint. It means you keep key leaders informed about the situation and your intentions. And that's what's been happening. Senators and House leaders have had repeated briefings over the past week on the Iran situation and the options on the table. No, they did not get a full play-by-play of, we're going to launch at 3:17 a.m. at this coordinate. The consultation requirement was met. The rest of the War Powers Resolution is pretty clear. Section 1543 says that the administration has to send Congress a written report within 48 hours after introducing forces into hostilities and keep them updated. Section 1544 says the president can keep forces engaged for up to 60 days without a specific authorization from Congress, plus 30 more days to safely withdraw unless Congress says otherwise. In practice, that means Trump has roughly 60 to 90 days of legal room for a limited operation without a formal declaration of war, assuming that he reports appropriately. Ever since 1973, presidents of both parties have reported actions under war powers, but they've rarely treated that 60-day clock as a hard stop. We fought long campaigns in places like Iraq and Afghanistan based on presidential authorizations, not formal declarations of war. So the idea that no pre-vote equals automatically illegal just doesn't line up with how this has always worked. Which brings me to the other lie being told from both the left and the far right, the horseshoe theory being proven correct again. You're hearing that we never voted for a war with Iran, that Trump is going back on his promises, that he's controlled by Netanyahu. All of that is wrong. And if you believe it, it's because you have not learned anything about how Trump actually operates. First off, the idea that Trump is controlled by Netanyahu. That ignores the times that he's actually told Israel no. When Israel wanted to move earlier against Iran, the U.S. pushed them to hold off until the timing and intelligence looked right. Then we did Operation Midnight Hammer. Trump has his own calculus. He's not just doing whatever Jerusalem wants him to. Second, the claim that Trump is going back on his promises. That ties into the idea that we're going to war with Iran. Trump doesn't do occupation wars. Trump does what I've called strategic engagement. Limited, highly targeted strikes to meet specific goals, and then he's done. We saw it in his first term with the killing of Soleimani. We saw it with an operation like Midnight Hammer against Iran's nuclear facilities. We saw it with the operation that took out Maduro's grip on power in Venezuela. These are just sharp punches, not open-ending nation-building campaigns. If Trump thought that today's actions would lead to a prolonged ground war, he wouldn't have done it. It's not his MO. A lot of the, we're entering a prolonged war talk comes from that 1990s to 2000s mindset that if we break it, we buy it. That if we take out the Iranian regime, it's automatically our job to go in, run the country, and referee their politics for decades. That's not how Trump thinks, and it's not how this White House is operating. If we do successfully take out the regime, we are not signing up to run Iran. We will sit back and watch, help where it lines up with our interests, but we are not marching an occupation army into Tehran, getting bogged down in an endless civil war. Trump ran against that model, and nothing about this changes that. And speaking of what Trump ran on, he has always been against Iran getting nuclear weapons. That's been consistent from his campaign speeches throughout his first term and into this one. This clip I'm about to show you comes from Steven Crowder, who addresses both the idea that Trump is going back on his promises and the lie that the United States has no interest in stopping Iran. I'm showing you this clip because I'd be saying essentially the exact same things, and he said them first, so I'll give him the credit.
Is it in our interest to prevent Iran from becoming some kind of a serious nuclear power? Well, you could go down the list, go to the largest state sponsor of terrorism. Of course, there's that choke point next to the Strait of Hormuz. About a quarter of global oil and a fifth of natural gas go through there. 80% of Iranian oil goes to China. There have been alleged assassination attempts and plots on U.S. leaders, including President Trump. I would also say that, President Trump put himself on the hook for the protesters, saying that if you guys kill protesters, it's going to be bad for you. But it is super important, again, because I see black pillars out there going, this is a huge betrayal. That is not a valid argument. President Trump has been saying since at least 2011. Here's 2011. America's primary goal with Iran must be to destroy its nuclear ambitions. Let me put them as plainly as I know how. Iran's nuclear program must be stopped by any and all means necessary. Period. We cannot allow this radical regime to acquire a nuclear weapon that they will either use or hand off to terrorists. Okay, so we go. Don't care about Israel and Iran. Does the United States have its own separate conflict with Iran? The answer is yes.
So, no, this is not Israel's war. This is not against our interests. Taking out the Iranian regime while they are weak is maybe the most pro-American thing that can be done right now. And for those who are against this, it's worth looking at who they're effectively siding with. Thomas Massie, Khanna, Rand Paul, Hakeem Jeffries. The rhetoric is not lining up with our allies like Canada and Australia, who have backed the U.S. objective in our strikes in Iran. They're not lining up with regional powers like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Jordan, the UAE, who have all rushed to condemn Iran's missile and drone retaliation as dangerous escalation and a violation of their sovereignty. They've stayed notably quiet about the initial U.S. and Israeli strikes in Iran. Instead, what these people are saying sounds a lot closer to Moscow, Tehran, and Beijing, the same actors calling this American aggression and trying to isolate us diplomatically. It should tell you something when our closest allies lean our way and the loudest critics are Russia, Iran, and China. It should tell you something when usually cautious Gulf states condemn Iran's response but not the original strikes. It should tell you something if you find yourself repeating talking points that line up more with our adversaries than with the United States and our friends. You are being misled, and it's time to recognize that. Thanks for sticking around to the end. Be sure to hit like and subscribe for more. I'm trying to build a platform here based on calm, reasonable takes on politics, culture, and faith. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.